At this time of year, a golden hue stretches across the garden. The marigolds are in full bloom, and their bright colour ignites joy in all. You can smell their fragrance throughout the land. It smells as deep as the colour is bright, and this smell actually wards pests away so that they don't eat the abundant garden's produce. They also attract pollinators to the garden, butterflies and bees rejoicing in colour and nectar. The flowers are always a reminder of the beauty in the smallest things, each tiny petal joining in unison to create this larger vision. It reminds me to look around to see all of the small things that create this life. The flowers are starting to fall, so Julia is harvesting them for the kitchen. The end of one plant just brings the beginning of another. We always spread a few seeds between our fingers, encouraging the next season's growth. The changing season means that it's the perfect time to plant spinach. So, in the gaps where the marigolds no longer grow, Julia is planting seedlings. Today, Julia is making a tea from marigold petals. To harvest is such a practice of understanding the passing of time. Sometimes it is necessary to spend all afternoon picking, to collect fruit before a storm or flowers before they fall. Sometimes when you have such different plans for your day, you realize that the garden is cooling and the produce needs picking. In these moments, it feels so fast-paced within the season. Like you only have a quick window before the persimmons will be taken by birds or the rain will spoil the mangoes. But then there is the slowness. The weeks waiting for tea to dry. The months spent watching a tree slowly grow buds, then flowers, then fruit. Or the seasons passing between a seed sprouting from soil. Over the next week, as the tea dried, we watched these seedlings grow so slowly, in rain, in sun, and in the passing of time. The ducks are growing so fast, and in this beautiful sunny weather, I take them to the creek often. They are bigger now, so they enjoy the faster moving stream, the one that flows from the mountain high above. Happy, the smaller white duck, still gets a little bit worried, so she likes to sit on my lap for a break sometimes. But Snug gets so excited that she swims up and down the stream. It takes a week or so for the petals to dry out, and then they can be stored and used whenever to always remember the bright taste of the afternoon garden light. A fire is always such a beautiful way to slow down, seeing all the intricacies of nature. Like gardening is a balance of time, understanding yourself within the fast-moving seasons and the slow-growing seeds. Sitting around a fire feels like this too. It seems to stop time, like nothing but the flames exist. This simple task of growing a fire from a single spark feels like the only thing in the world. The sun is setting earlier now, and we love to be outside at this time of day and understand this change.
You like it? Yeah.
We are sisters, Julia and Anastasia, and a few years ago now, we chose this life in the Australian rainforest. With the help of our animal friends, we work to restore nature's balance, garden, grow our own food, and live with the land. And if there's one thing that this life has taught us, it is to find joy and creativity in every moment. From cooking to caring for the land, creating with our hands, sewing, painting and gardening, we've learnt to do it all with love. We wrote a book that tells our story of returning to a life lived in harmony with nature, and in it, we share all the secrets of how to live a creative life. You can buy it by following the link in our description or from bookstores around the world. Also, for the first time ever, we are offering fine art prints of Julia's art. The link to purchase them is in our description too.
So I used to think that cars were silly things that were just metal chunks that got you places. But then I got my tiny Japanese truck, which is honestly the most amazing thing. It's so practical. I use it every day for different things around the farm. That's why there's buckets in the back right now, because I've been fixing the roads with it. But because of that, it has been getting a bit dirty and grimy. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a makeover. So currently she's a bit of a mess inside. I've got ratchet straps everywhere. There's 1,000 different places to put your water bottle if you ever need 5 water bottles at once. This is where I hang my swimmers so they can dry after I go for a swim. And then there's a tiny bucket, which is, it hangs from the mirror and it has my bucket list in it because, you know. So my plan is just, I want to make it a little bit nicer. I want to put something on the seats to make them covered and pretty and, you know, safer so they don't get so dirty. I want more little silly details like my bucket list. And yeah, I just want to make it cuter. Okay, so I've been collecting crochet blankets in op shops for a really long time for this project. And I have too many options that I actually don't know what to do. I have option number 1 is this rainbow, which is really big. So I think it'll cover both seats, which I really like the idea of. Option number 2 is this blue, which is only small, but it's so cute and it matches the exterior of the truck. Option number 3 is this cute white one, which I think is big enough to cover both seats. And then option number 4 is this pink one, which probably would only cover one seat, so it would be maybe with this one. So I've been sitting here for the longest time trying to decide on what color I think the covers should be. But I think I've decided, I think that this one is the best because it's the roughest blanket and I always feel really sad cutting up someone's beautiful crochet. So I think this one, since it's already falling apart, is a good option. And also there's so much of it. And also I think the colors really complement it and it's got this baby blue in it. So how could I not? Okay, so it's time to take it to the studio. I only had 1 pin in the whole car, so for the width, I used it to remember where to cut it. And then for the height, I'm literally just memorizing the color. So I normally wouldn't be so crochet irresponsible is what I would call it, and cut where crochet hasn't already ended, like have these loose ends, because this means that the whole thing can now fall apart. But because the crochet is already so rough and it's already falling apart in so many places, I thought that it would be easier this way instead of, like normally I would find a section where it already joins and I'd cut along there so then I could like recrochet it together. But this isn't the case, I couldn't have done it here. So instead I'm going to use the overlocker and overlock these raw edges, and that's going to hopefully stop it from fraying. But before I do that, I'm going to trace this so I can get the other chair. So my plan now was to make a kind of little like tunnel through this where the elastic will go and then it will just cling to the seat like a seat cover. But my problem is that I never buy anything new in my life and I only collect things secondhand, which is great and I love it, but it also means that every single bit of elastic that I have is probably from the 1970s, probably one of my grandmother's, and it's completely degraded. There is no stretch left in any of that. So I'm not sure if it's going to work as a seat cover. Option 1 is I use it anyway and see if that tiny little bit of stretch is enough. Option 2 is I use something like hat elastic, which has better stretch, but it's so small, I don't know if it would have the strength to hold the seat cover to the seat. So the sewing machine doesn't want to sew through this. If you see, like, it keeps getting caught and then a little bit will drag onto the foot and then it's really annoying, you have to undo it. But a trick that I learned in uni is that you can put a piece of paper underneath the machine as it sews, and sewing machines actually kind of love to sew through paper. You don't actually have to sew through it, you can just kind of put it next to it as it sews, and then it doesn't catch on annoying little bits of yarn. Okay, so I have them ready. Now I just need to put all of the elastic through and hope that they're the right size. Okay, so the elastic is all through. I don't know how tight to make it, so I'll just do that afterwards, but now is the stage to see if it works. That's pretty cute. It's so perfect. Now I just have to do the second one. I thought that I was finished, but then I decided that I should make little head coverings too, because this can go here and it's gonna look so cute. I finished and I'm just so happy with how these turned out. I was looking for something to cover my car seat for a really long time, and I looked at a few different crochet options, but they were all really cheap. And a fun or not so fun fact about crochet is that it can't be done by machine. So every crochet piece you see has to be handmade. So if you see something cheap or from somewhere from fast fashion, then you know that someone is being ripped off to make that crochet. And instead, I used an old blanket from the op shop and made a new use out of it, something both beautiful and practical. I'm so excited, I love it!
Thank you for watching, and don't forget you can purchase art prints or our book through the links in our description. Thank you so much to our community of patrons, always making us so inspired to garden, cook, create, and care for the land.